Hi, everybody. This is Carrie from the Weird World Podcast.
Hi, Carrie.
Hi. We're doing part 2 of DB Cooper.
Uh-huh.
I already introduced myself. I'm Carrie.
Oh, I'm Jack.
Who are you clowns?
Carrie's feisty today.
God damn.
I'm Dean.
I'm Emma.
So, Dean,
Yeah.
catch us up.
Okay, I'll catch you up. I will
Yeah.
actually do that. I'll recap from part 1. Give you a quick recap before we dig into part 2. Part 1 was the actual crime, the event itself. A man named Dan Cooper.
Wait. The alleged crime.
No, it's pretty clear that a crime.
Allegedly?
It's hijacking. It's hijacking for ransom is indeed a crime.
You're afraid he's going to sue you for slander?
Is that what
and libel?
You're afraid
Yeah.
of that? He'd
Good.
come out of hiding after half a century and sue
never know.
because we said it. Okay. Well, anyway, a man named Dan Cooper paid cash for the one-way ticket from Portland, Oregon to Seattle, Washington on Thanksgiving Day, 1971. He was dressed in a nice business suit, but his business was hijacking. He was polite but firm. He wanted $200,000. He wanted 2 parachutes. And the plane had to be refueled as soon as it landed at SeaTac Airport. The plane, in fact, was held in a holding pattern, as you might recall, for about 2 hours
I do recall that.
with the poor flight attendant, Tina Mucklow, sitting next to Cooper the entire time, the last seat of the plane, praying that he wasn't going to get too impatient. Lucky for her and everyone else on the plane, he did not. In fact, Cooper got everything he wanted. He got $200,000. He got 2 parachutes when they landed in Seattle. They refueled the plane. He ordered it to take off again and heading this time for Reno, Nevada.
He wanted to get some gamble on.
Probably.
No, he did not.
Oh.
His
No.
real plan, though, was pretty obvious, given the whole parachutes and things.
Yeah.
He was somewhere over southwestern Washington State. In all likelihood, Cooper jumped with a canvas money bag tied to his waist. The plane landed in Reno, and as expected, it was missing one very nondescript, well-dressed passenger. So the hunt was on for D.B. Cooper, the nation's first successful hijacker.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
At
An
least for now.
inspiration to me,
And
if I'm
I
being honest.
plan to be the second.
Okay, well, hopefully no one's listening to this.
Yeah, it would be much harder to
much,
do
much,
it now.
much harder.
Yeah.
For ransom for money. I mean,
Yeah.
That's what hijackings really aren't for money anymore.
No.
I mean, they are almost always. Or, by the way, in part 1, I mentioned that a lot of early hijackings were political. Often it was to get out of like Iron Curtain countries early on, or after World War II anyway, and to escape repression. At least, I mean, that was one of the motivations.
Yeah.
So the whole skyjacking for money was fairly novel at the time, as we talked about last time. So today, this episode, we're going to talk about the search, the investigation for D.B. Cooper. This is where we start again right after the plane has landed. The security team, as we talked about, swarmed over the 727 in Reno. They searched the plane, guns drawn, found no one. They're just trying to make sure that they didn't, the hijacker wasn't hiding in an overhead or something like that, trying to pull off that brilliant plot twist, maybe dressing like a pilot and just walk out of there nice and calmly, maybe with a big bulge under his jacket. That would have to be explained.
That almost got weird.
That almost got real weird.
$200,000 in cash, weighed 21 pounds, was in a large canvas knapsack. So that would be tough. I guess he could have tossed the knapsack out because we know he opened the back door and then lowered the stairs. Maybe he tossed the knapsack out, figured he'd do the whole trick and then go back and get it. No? I'm hearing no?
No.
That wouldn't be a very smart idea. I
No,
don't
it
think.
wouldn't. But he was not on there. And as we know, he leapt into the sky somewhere over southern Washington. So the security personnel that came onto the plane was quickly replaced by a forensic team. They scoured the plane, and they did indeed come up with some evidence. 66 fingerprints that could not be matched against the passengers or the crew.
Wow.
Wow.
Wait. Well, I
Well,
mean, it is a commercial
exactly.
airplane, so
Yeah.
Almost certainly they were from past passengers,
Yes.
I have to think. I mean,
Yeah.
66. Good Lord. He was like everywhere touching everything.
He
So, yeah.
probably didn't really touch anything.
Yeah.
Probably
He
not.
might do
No,
his
he was
best not
very
to.
cautious. Yeah. Still, they cataloged all these 66 fingerprints. They kept them just in case to check against any future suspect they might develop.
Sure.
Cooper also left behind his black clip-on tie and a little pearl tie clip that he wore. He left that behind as well.
Pearl tie clip.
There's a little tie clip and a little pearl, probably a fake pearl, on the
That's
front of
weird.
it.
I appreciate that because that is my birthstone.
There you go. It's called.
It is
Gary's
mine,
just
yeah.
trying to class
I'm
up
liking
the
him more and more.
Yeah.
Is it pearl or mother of pearl?
I don't know actually.
Oh my goodness.
It's gonna
a little
bug
confused
me.
why you're really. Is that important? Okay. Well, I don't know. Sorry.
Is it satin or sateen?
There's this big difference.
Does it?
Girl?
Yeah.
No,
Is
it doesn't.
Not really. No.
It literally makes zero
How about just
difference.
a whitish dot on a tie clip? How's that? Does that make you? Is that better?
Girl, it was abalone. Now let's move on.
So he also left behind one of the two parachute sets.
Yeah, he don't need to.
No, he did not. That is one primary and one reserve chute, as we talked about last time. That
Yeah.
was pure genius. It made the authorities think he might take a hostage, so they
Yep.
couldn't sabotage that chute. Thinking
He got big brain.
he does. The remaining primary chute that he left behind, by the way, had been opened, and he had cut 2 lines
Oh.
off the canopy. So it's very likely that is what he used to secure the knapsack and then secure the knapsack around his body. So he probably just tied it off because these are long,
Sure,
long ropes,
yeah.
and probably nylon, I imagine. And he, tied everything and got it nice and secure on his person, probably hugging the shit out of it.
Yeah.
as he
Yeah.
flew into the air.
I mean, I can see the cartoon version of him just trailing through the air with a money trail behind him, and all his thousands are leaving him as we speak.
That would truly suck. Actually,
Yeah.
when we get to suspects next episode, that might have happened.
Uh-oh.
So we'll see. So the key piece of evidence, though, was, of course, the sketch.
They actually did get a sketch of him?
Oh, yeah. They interviewed several witnesses who had got a good look at Cooper, and FBI artists came up with a soon-to-be-famous sketch.
I mean, before he put his sunglasses on.
Yeah, well, they had both. They actually did it both ways. It portrayed this kind of, I guess, a little bit balding, middle-aged white guy. Most people thought he was in his mid-40s. I look at it, I think he could be anywhere from his late 30s to the mid-40s. He's in a suit and tie, as we talked about. He had dark hair, I guess brown hair, but generally just these completely forgettable features. Even the FBI would describe him as, quote, nondescript.
Yeah.
Plain.
Yeah, he was. Which,
he
again,
read the description like, what?
Honestly, no, he's like, bitch, hell yes. Ain't nobody gonna recognize me.
no, he was very hard. I mean, he looked like a lot of white, almost middle-aged American males at the time.
Yeah.
That was, if you were that approximate type in age and you had brown hair, it wasn't. He also had kind of these, he was described as like piercing eyes. They're a little bit close together, but they're pretty intense eyes as
I
well.
don't like close together eyes.
No, they weren't
Well-
crazy. They weren't like full on. I'm not going to say the name of the actor
Yeah,
who has
don't.
very close
That's
eyes.
not nice.
But they weren't like oddly close together, but they're a little bit. But they're piercing. The FBI did a companion sketch with dark sunglasses on. So they had one with and one without sunglasses. Just like, have you seen this guy? He might be wearing sunglasses. And they sent both of those out into the world, hoping that someone saw that face as someone that they knew. As we'll talk about again in the next episode, that turned out to be way the hell too many people.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. But again, we'll get to that with suspects, because if it was up to America, there were thousands of suspects. Or, no, I'm sorry, absolute 100%. For certain, my friend Tom is the hijacker. So, though we will talk far more about how, oh shit, what the fuck am I talking about?
We're keeping that.
No. Again, we'll talk about the suspects for D.B. Cooper next time, but I want to mention one suspect right now because he became very critical to the legend of D.B. Cooper. So the Portland police knew of a guy with a minor criminal record, and they thought he looked a little bit like the sketch. And some genius on the Portland police had this fantastic idea that, hey, maybe the hijacker was dumb enough to use his real name or something really close to his real name. So let's look into this guy I know who's a perp of a minor third-rate criminal. So the Portland police went and they spoke with D.B. Cooper, third-rate Portland perp. They quickly ruled him out, but in that mad initial rush where the media is just falling all over themselves to get any kind of information. It was immediately a big story. So the media is trying, this is like the next day or the next day after that. It's early on, right? And someone in apparently a local reporter named James Long knew about the Portland police were looking into this D.B. Cooper guy. He apparently mixed that up with what the airline had said from the beginning. He called himself Dan Cooper and bought that ticket under the name Dan Cooper. And so James Long called him DB Cooper. That was picked up by the wire services, either the UPI or the AP. No one's quite sure. Right away, Dan Cooper became DB Cooper almost immediately because at this time, every newspaper in the country used the wire services. It was super
Right,
common.
yeah.
By the way, I found the initial story in the New York Times, and they called him DB Cooper. So it happened very,
wow.
very quickly.
Damn.
So almost immediately, Dan Cooper, we should all know him as Dan Cooper, but no one does. We all know him as DB Cooper
Yeah.
because of this
Probably.
mistake.
Honestly, that's probably another lucky thing for him.
It is.
Yeah.
It's much more intriguing kind of a name.
Yeah.
DB
DB
Cooper.
Cooper.
That's a cool
Well,
name.
also,
Dan Cooper,
like-
that's as nondescript as his face.
People hear the name Dan Cooper, and they don't automatically think a heist.
Yeah.
You know?
Probably true.
And
DB
so-
Cooper, watch this guy.
He
Yeah.
can kind of blend
might
in a
have
little
a
bit more
bomb.
if he ever.
Oh, I have no doubt. He wanted to have a forgettable name
Yeah.
along
Yeah.
with his forgettable face. He just had a total super just run of the mill suit kind of a thing going on. Yeah, he wanted to fade into the background for sure.
Me too. Melt into the scenery.
Sure.
I want to be front and center.
Yes, she does.
No.
The FBI and local authorities had to wait for the next day and wait for the weather to clear a little bit before they could really get on with the hunt for DB Cooper. One DB
Seattle.
Cooper, I think it was in, I'm not positive, but I think it was in that HBO special, The Mystery of DB Cooper. But like a current DB Cooper enthusiast and hunter, he said that, he goes, well, Cooper effectively got like 40-hour head start before the authorities got on the ground and tried to find him.
Oh, because of the
And
weather?
That's not true. I'm 99% sure he's full of shit. That's just way too long. It's exaggerated, but for sure, because that person is kind of an enthusiast that Cooper lived and wants him to have lived and got away with it, right? For sure, though, DB Cooper had many, many hours until well into the next day before, and probably even a little bit longer than that, before there was a significant number of boots on the ground and there's people swarming all over the place in that southwestern Washington area north of Portland, Oregon, where they initiated their search. So he clearly had a head start. He did it at the right time. Remember, he jumped at about 8:15, 8:20, something like that p.m. He would have had at minimum 12 hours, probably 18 or 20 before a significant number of people were out looking around that area.
Do you think they searched Longview, Washington?
I bet they did.
Oh my God.
They certainly that's in the area, and
Yeah.
I'm sure they searched near there for sure.
Too bad I can't ask any of my relatives if they remember it,
Why can't you?
Why?
because they're dead.
Wow, Carrie, way to bring us all down.
You said that like you killed them.
yeah,
Because
you did.
they're dead.
Because they're dead.
they're dead.
Like,
now.
Grandma Polly. And
Okay, wait. Hold up.
Let's start naming your relatives.
Yeah.
That's weird. So you're gonna name all of her dead relatives. That's kind of weird, Carrie. Which brings up the obvious question: what was Cooper's plan exactly at this point? Right?
do you mean?
You're gonna
Oh, like
jump
after?
into at night, dark, cold, rainy. You're gonna jump into the wilderness with a bunch of money. So,
I'm sure he had some sort of survival training.
well, let's think about it. He probably did, actually.
Yeah.
Or there's a good chance he did. At best, though, okay, say he survives the jump, right? He
Had a
probably
parachute.
he'd quickly bury the parachute.
Yes.
Because that's the most. It's big. It's colorful.
Yeah.
You want to get that out of sight for sure. Let's say he does have the money, or at least most of it. We'll find out a little bit later. He does not have all of it. Ooh. And then what do you do though? It's like I said, it's dark, it's cold, it's raining lightly. I want to first of all just say he absolutely could survive. You hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, he couldn't have lived." Well,
Yeah.
of course he could.
Why
The
not?
high was only 51. That I checked Portland, Oregon. This is not that far from Portland. So I checked Portland, Oregon, in that day, and the high was 51. The low though was 45.
Oh,
You could survive 45.
yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of
I
folks,
could.
because you hear that a lot. You can't survive the cold, and he wouldn't have survived the jump. But he'd only be in the air a few minutes. I know. I'm
Yeah.
sure it's much colder at 10,000 feet, and then 9, and then 8, and then 7. But you're doing that for not very long at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not long enough to die of hypothermia.
And he had a nice sports coat.
Yeah.
So yes, he'd be cold, but he could survive. That just annoys me when they say, "Oh, I know
Yeah.
he's dead." No chance whatsoever. That's just nonsense. So Cooper also clearly knew where he was going to jump. He had to have.
Right.
As we mentioned last time, that area around the north of Portland there, that's really the only sizable kind of flattish area in the region. It's very mountainous, very hilly, very forested. That area, though, north of Portland, near, I guess that'd be what, east of Longview, Washington, is there's a big wide swath of land that is farming and things like that you could safely land.
Weed.
Wheat.
He found a weed farm.
He
Probably a
did.
lot of hops too. Hops and weed. Maybe I don't know.
Sounds like a fun state.
Yeah. So that's the safest place to jump. There's no doubt in my mind that he knew all along that's where he was going to jump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He planned almost
Every
everything as we
single
know.
minute.
He was never going to Reno or
Yeah.
remember because I go to Mexico. He just wanted to make them fly south
Yeah.
over this part of southwestern Washington State. And okay, then Reno, sure.
And if he's really good, he had stashed some survival gear or something somewhere.
There you lose me because
I don't think so.
so what's the plan after that? Many think that Cooper must have had help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe. But how precise could that
Yeah.
sort of plan be? It couldn't be. Like
No.
survival gear, no way. You can go this 20 or 30 or something mile radius and have a good guess, but
Yeah,
absolutely.
too hard.
Needle in a haystack to do
Yeah.
survival gear. But that same thing goes with like, you couldn't rely too much on a co-conspirator, if at all, because they're, it's not like you're going to walk out of the woods and have that person waiting for you.
Right.
That's
and-
impossible.
yeah.
Yeah.
How would they find no cell
Yeah.
phones in those days?
But could there have been a plan along the lines of, okay, you go in Portland, you wait, or somewhere nearby, whatever,
Yeah.
Longview, Arroyo, Washington, whatever. Somewhere in the area, you go there, you have your rugged vehicle, just in case you have to go off-roading a little bit. You have blankets, and you have a hot coffee in a
Yeah.
thermos, because I'm going to be cold as hell. And then I am going to find my way to town X. You come get me.
Yeah.
Or I will make my way to any payphone or any kind of communication whatsoever in any nearest town. When I'll walk out, I'll figure out where I am, I'll find a highway, I'll get to a town, or maybe even a farmhouse, and I will communicate. I'll get to a phone, and I'll call you, and then I'll hide somewhere. I'll tell you when I'm going to hide, and you come get me. So that seems
work,
pretty
yeah.
reasonable. That would be absolutely be possible,
I think so.
but there's
Yeah,
no.
I agree.
But some, because you hear sometimes like some kind of prescribed landing spot or something like that.
That would be too
no
hard.
way.
I don't-
Way
Yeah.
too hard.
Because
And also-
you don't know what the airline's going to do.
Exactly. I was going to say, you talked about last time how he and the pilots had to discuss
I know.
Yeah.
alternate
Yeah.
routes. So
And they
it's
decided
not
on
like-
Vector 23.
Unless
Yeah.
he's a master manipulator and
Yeah.
this whole time planned to like make them think they had the option, but really he's like,
Yeah.
I know
Well,
what you're going to pick.
I'll
I don't
say
think
this.
so.
He made
Yeah.
sure they were going to fly south and head over
Yes.
southwestern Washington
Where he
for
wants to
sure,
go.
which is where he wanted to go. And that route to Reno did so. It could have been LA or something like
Yeah.
that. I imagine.
Yeah.
So as once the person said, "Oh, how about Reno through this vector?" and he knew that vector went over the spot, he said,
He
"Sure,
said, baby,
Yeah.
yes, please.
that's where I'm landing."
I think he's smart.
I think he is too.
Yeah.
So
Well, and clearly he pre-planned everything.
Yeah.
So he had a plan.
yeah, I mean, he could
I
have
would
just hunkered
think.
down, right? Wait for first light, and then get out there, find a road, and follow that road to whatever town. And even then, assuming he had no help, though, could he have made his way somewhere? I mean, could he have, like, I don't know, pre-placed a vehicle? He would have had to. How do you get to it? He would have had to hitchhike or something like that,
Yeah, or be a master navigator.
or
Yeah.
or be willing to walk many miles. And no, you're right. Be a good navigator. But if he knew the roads well, and he knew once he got on
Yeah.
state route 15 or whatever, he knew, okay, well, I know where that goes.
Yeah.
I parked my car. Like 8 miles. I can walk 8 miles, and you walk off the road to not be spotted. Again, though, and he's doing this probably at dawn.
Yeah.
So no one's looking for him yet. The story didn't really become widely known until the next day, and again, a lot of boots on the ground weren't until later that day. So, and he also could have hitchhiked because he wasn't notorious quite yet,
Right.
Just some local farmer or something like that. If he did that though, then that person who picked him up took that story to the grave.
Yeah.
Right.
with
And
him.
why would they?
Why would
Well-
they? I'd be
well,
I
maybe
helped a
maybe
felon, but
he-
you didn't know, and
Or-
you could
Or
be.
maybe he gave
Paid
money.
him.
Yeah.
maybe.
Or he's just some random rural farmer
Yeah.
who
That
knows
doesn't pay
nothing.
attention,
Who
yeah.
doesn't?
Yeah.
He's like, I farm my weed and I do nothing.
That sounds
And he
like a
didn't
weed
say,
farmer.
"Hey, I'm Dan Cooper." He said, "Hey."
No,
John.
but unless he
The
disguised
description.
himself something like that,
I was gonna
everybody
say.
saw that sketch.
Exactly. And he's wearing a suit. Well,
Yeah.
he could have did. Well, no, he'd want to wear the coat because it'd be cold.
Yeah, and
He turned it
ditched the-
inside out.
I was gonna say he turned it inside out. He ditched the tie. He
Yeah.
whatever
He already
the
ditched the
fuck.
tie in the
He
plane.
gets the
Well, you know
sunglasses.
what
No,
I
I
mean.
mean, yeah, no. We're for sure. in some fashion, he could have got out. Given the level of planning seen
Yeah.
in almost every part of his whole escapade, it seems likely that he would have thought of some method for getting out of Southwest Washington
Yeah.
pretty quickly.
And you said his duffel bag that he
Yeah.
brought with him, was that just the bomb?
No, the knapsack was where they put the money.
No, he had an
attaché-
attaché
a briefcase. He had a
Yes,
briefcase.
the
He put the
attaché
bomb.
case.
Hey, did he
Yeah.
take that with him?
He did. He
I was
must.
gonna say,
He
yeah.
almost certainly tossed it.
Yeah.
Now, so
wondering
whether it
if
was
he
real
had-
dynamite or not, we'll never know.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if he had supplies somewhere stashed on his person
You know,
in readiness.
Yeah.
he could have had a couple
Small
of
supplies.
granola bars if they
Stuff
were
like
a
that.
thing in 1971.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Water
but not
purification tablets.
much. Maybe
stuff like that.
tablets, maybe
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah, it's possible. But he had Tina Mucklow would have noticed anything
knife.
Yeah.
heavy or bulgy
Yeah.
under his jacket for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But still, he planned everything so well. I'm positive he planned how to get out.
Yeah, me too.
Whether it was whether it was somebody helping
Yeah.
him or it was a pre-planted vehicle or something like that, and he just had to figure out how to get there. You know, again, he knew even if it's 15, 20 miles.
Yeah.
you can walk 15, 20 miles
Yeah.
in that first day if he
Did
knows what he's doing.
Did he eat on the plane?
He had 2 bourbon and sodas.
And
I don't know
ate
that
cigarettes.
No, he didn't. I don't think he did. No. Yeah, he was just smoking and drinking.
Yeah, he probably should have.
He probably should have. Carrie's worried about him now. Oh, God, I hope
He was
he's
too
okay.
nervous.
I
But I hope
just
he's
think
okay.
we know he was methodical, resourcul, and smart. I think he got out of there. If
I
he
think he
survived the
did.
jump,
Hell yeah.
he got out of there.
Yeah.
He knows you can eat the inner bark of pine trees.
I don't know if you even have to do that. Or even have to be. You don't have to be
Yeah.
a woodsman to have survived that and to got out. Again, you just have to
Yeah.
get from wherever
Yeah.
you landed to a
Yeah.
road. And then you follow that
Pretty
road
much.
to a place. And like I said, there's places all over. There's farmhouses and stuff dotting these little towns. You're gonna once you
Yeah.
find a road, you're gonna get somewhere.
And it
Probably
was the
late
70s.
late November probably wasn't the best time.
That's
he could have
very
done
true. I
it.
thought about that as well. That was his timing wasn't genius.
Yeah.
I don't know if there was a reason for that.
I bet there was.
Well, the thing I think, and we'll see a little bit later about the search, is that winter. It's not too winter, but it's almost to winter. And would that impede the investigation, which, as we'll find out in a second, did.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
maybe.
Spoiler
okay.
alert.
A little bit,
Jesus.
yeah. So
I was rather miffed with you.
she is. She's angry right now. Do you want to take that? Should I edit that out and pretend you didn't hear it?
Yes.
No.
So a bigger problem, though, than the weather, because remember, I'm sort of now back to our story kind of a thing, is remember we left with the weather was bad, so they delayed the ground search, but a bigger problem was exactly where should the search teams be looking for
Yeah.
D.B. Cooper, or his body hanging from a parachute somewhere in the piney canopy, neck thoroughly snapped. That was the theory, is that he got, he snapped his neck or something like that, or got stuck up there. It's like, help,
Like from
before-
Tarzan.
Yeah.
until he died of thirst. So, where should we look for either body or criminal? As we've covered, the law enforcement had a pretty good idea of when Cooper jumped. The flight crew felt the bump. They knew about when he jumped, and they knew roughly over where they thought they were. We'll get more about that in a minute as well. This still translated, though, into a pretty wide swath of rugged, forested, and in parts, sometimes hilly kind of country. It's a big wilderness. Again, it has some farms and towns, things like that. But this general area also has some pretty wilderness areas, and incredibly difficult to search the entire area. They had no idea. Somewhere in here, we think somewhere in that Lewis River in southwestern Washington, we think he jumped.
Yeah.
Good luck. What's more, the presumed area could be off by a variety of factors. So winds is the big one. Winds could have impacted the speed and the position of the plane. And so, in other words, the pilots were sort of guesstimating where they
Right.
were. They don't know for a certainty where they were. And if the wind was acting on them in a way they weren't accounting for, that would widen that potential landing spot of D.B. Cooper's.
It's amazing airplanes got to where they were going and landed in the right spots back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true.
Honestly, I was thinking about that last time. I was just like, they must have just fucking pointed the plane in a direction and said, let's go.
So you see the lights. That looks like Portland to me. Go down there.
Compasses.
It was probably more than that, but
Yeah.
plus authorities had no idea how long Cooper stayed in free fall. That was critical. Or if he opened his chute right away, because the longer he stayed
Yeah.
in free fall, the more precise they can be. But if he opened his chute after, say, a couple thousand feet, and he's able to steer in some direction, that could open up the area, the size of the area,
Yeah.
tremendously,
Yeah.
though. And of course,
I wouldn't
remember,
be surprised if he knew that because he
yeah,
requested the specific kind of parachute.
absolutely, yeah. He said, if you recall from the first episode, he said no to military parachutes that automatically deployed at 200 feet, and he wanted to control the ripcord himself.
He
And
knows.
around what time was it?
About 8:15, 8:20, somewhere in
Okay,
there.
so it would have been very dark.
It was dark,
Yeah.
for sure. So many wondered if he had even been able to open his parachute again. Again, there's a lot of naysayers that think, oh, he didn't make it. He couldn't have made
Why
it.
wouldn't he have been able to open his parachute?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Because well, the
there
fighter
evidence of-
jets. Remember, there's fighter jets falling about 2 miles behind, trying to keep an eye on the plane, right?
Yes.
They did not see any parachute open, nor did they pick anything up on their radar.
Well,
But then again, a lot of the law enforcement folks who say, "Oh, he couldn't survive it," they use the darkness and the weather conditions for that reason. Well, same goes for you didn't see him.
Right.
It was
Yeah.
dark.
yeah.
It was
Absolutely.
bad weather.
And also, you mentioned in the last episode again that the jets weren't able to keep a
Yeah.
consistent eye on the airspace around the plane
Yeah.
because of their speed requirements.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's not reliable to me.
It's not. It's not. And even more so, experts would later say that if Cooper free fell for even just about 1,000 feet
Yeah.
before pulling the cord, there's no way they would have seen him. They would have seen the parachute.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that makes sense.
And
Yeah.
then that dovetails back with his insistence on those civilian sports parachutes that where you could control
Right.
the deployment of the chute. So there's no question. That tells me, the fact that he insisted upon it tells me that he fully planned a free fall for a fair amount of time
Yep.
before he opened it.
Get some clouds to cover him and
Yeah.
then run away.
Because he probably understood. He probably figured they're going to be following this airplane.
Yeah.
So if I free fall, and that indicates maybe he knew that if he free fell for a little bit of time, he'd be
They wouldn't be
invisible
able to
them.
see him, yeah.
He's a smarty pants.
Yes. After that, in terms of, he didn't survive it, there's no reason he couldn't have pulled the ripcord and successfully made it to the ground.
Yeah.
Again, the cold and stuff like that. Oh, he would have frozen to death. That's kind of silly.
Did they do things like investigate skydiving schools? And
Yeah.
I mean, I would imagine they
I
did.
bet
and
yeah.
they probably checked the military, like Air Force.
Yeah. When we
personnel
get to
and-
resources, when we get to suspects, there's
Oh,
going to
okay.
be some folks who had a military background
Okay.
for that reason.
I mean, I would think that too, based off just how much
Right.
he seems to know about
Yeah.
everything.
Well, he for sure had a parachute background. So yeah,
Yes.
if it's
Yeah.
not in those days, if you weren't a flying enthusiast or an instructor, you kind of probably had to be a military. Your
Right.
experience in
Yeah.
parachuting was from the military.
And there probably weren't that many
No.
recreational skydiving places.
Yeah.
In
Doubtful.
71.
But everybody's uncle who did it,
Yeah.
they could have learned. Your uncle never skydived. I'm sure he should have. He did it. I want to write a book. So,
I didn't understand
What is that from?
what's what from?
What's the thing you just did?
Well, we'll get to in suspects again. There is just an avalanche of people saying my cousin, uncle, father,
I see.
wife, mother,
Oh.
sister, brother did it, and they're all full of shit. And one of the hurdles is okay. Well, whoever did it has to have these certain set of skills.
Yeah.
And
Liam Neeson.
Liam Neeson could have done it, obviously.
Probably, yes.
Obviously, was he old enough? But he's
Particular
Probably.
set
he
of
was very-
skills.
You know
Yeah.
what? I'm going to put
Liam
Liam
Neeson.
Neeson on the suspect list.
He probably would have been a little bit young.
I still, he's kind of nondescript when he's not being chased by wolves. So,
Good movie.
anyway, exactly where he fell was guesswork. So the FBI decided they'd try a little experiment. They had the same Captain William Scott, who had flown him the first time, get back up behind the helm of a 727 just a few days later. They did the same time. They did the same route. It was even raining again. And they rigged up a 200-pound sled to a parachute. And then they opened the aft exit stairway and tossed that sled rig to a parachute, roughly to mimic his weight.
Sure.
Yes.
But
And-
what if that lands on a car or a
Very
kid
bad.
or
Well, they probably did it over the wilderness too. But
Yeah,
also,
but you don't know where the parachute's going to carry it. That's irresponsible.
It is a little bit, yes. But the act mimicked the same up and down motion to the tail, too. So when they tossed it out, they dragged it down to the stairway, and then when it actually left the plane, it had that
Yeah.
tail popping up again, just like it has. So it felt like, that feels like what happened to
What-
the crew.
what were they trying to prove with that?
Where? The
experiment?
where. So they said at the
where,
exact
I
right
don't
time. We
agree.
think is 8:13. That's our best guess. 8:13 at 8. Again, there's various sources tell you 8:13, 15, 20, 22.
Yeah.
But in this experiment, they thought 8:13, will let it go and then see where it lands. And indeed, it landed somewhere roughly in that Lewis River in southwest Washington.
But like you said earlier, winds play a huge role, and they can't
And
control
how
the
long?
winds.
Exactly.
And how long
And-
he free fell.
And I got to
all that kind of
assume
stuff.
this was the shoot, probably a military shoot, so because they can't.
Right.
The
Yes.
stretcher didn't pull his ripcord, so it probably
Yep.
deployed at 200 feet.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not a great thing. But and remember, it's also the pilot's
Approximation.
best guess of where they. But
Yeah.
it did put them over that Lewis River area in Washington. So
Yeah.
Sure.
it kind of dovetailed with what
Yeah.
the pilots at the time thought.
Approximation.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll give it that.
And this southwest Washington area is in the shadow almost of Mount St. Helens.
Ooh.
That would catastrophically erupt 9 years later.
Yep.
And so it became the focus of the search, this area.
Oh my God, he even knew that. So it would destroy all of the evidence.
He's a genius 9 years later. This was near near the Lewis River area. There's also a thing called Lake Merwin, which was a reservoir formed by a dam on the Lewis River. The town of Ariel, Washington, was situated along Highway 503 in the heart of the search area, which is only about 40 miles from Portland, Oregon. So it's not like it's, crazy middle
Yeah.
of nowhere kind of
Okay,
place.
I'm assuming they sent teams of investigators out and
Searching.
questioned people in the vicinity.
I'll get that in a minute.
Okay.
Yep. So despite this rough triangulation of factors pointing toward this kind of safer, flatter area north of Portland as a landing site, there's still, again, as I mentioned, there was no sense of exactly within it where they could search. So they were extremely thorough. So yes, Carrie, they searched every structure, literally every structure they could find in this very wide
Yeah.
area of southwest Washington. Barns, cabins,
Yeah.
farmhouses. So yeah, they went door to door. Did a guy come to you, dressed nice, maybe with sunglasses, maybe without, and ask for food or to use your phone or something like that? And no one had seen any hide nor hair of D.B. Cooper.
Huh.
Boats skimmed up and down the Lewis River and Lake Merwin and nearby Yale Lake, so they thought he could have landed in the water. They looked for any sign. Really, they're looking for the parachute on the surface, on
Yeah.
the body below the surface.
Yeah.
Seeing if they could find any sign of him there. They had aircraft went up, both fixed wing and helicopters were just all over, littering the sky above. Again, looking for a parachute in the canopy or on the
Yeah.
ground somewhere in some lonely meadow.
Did they have the technology where they could see if the heat of
The FLIR
of a
camera you
person?
see on
Cameras.
every
What are those
ghost
called?
show.
Thermal imaging.
Yeah.
I don't.
That
I'm sure they had infrared, right? Because that goes back to World War II, I think, doesn't it? I'm not
fucking
positive.
know.
So I could be way off. I could be decades off. I don't know. If he was dead, there wouldn't be a heat
Correct.
signature left. So I don't see how that would help.
If he was alive.
If
But
he's
if-
alive, but he's a person. There were other people there. Look, this person. Oh, there's another person. Oh, that's right. We're over
But I
Portland.
mean, over the wooded areas
Yeah,
where there weren't a lot of people.
I don't know. I doubt they had that. I don't know. And also, they had Searchcraft fly the length and breadth of Vector 23. Remember that? That was the route that
Oh,
Cooper
yes.
and Captain Scott agreed to take.
Yep.
Multiple times. So it's going Seattle to Reno, rinse and repeat, checking that whole route just for in the off chance they might see something on the ground.
Huh.
So
Like
they
a
were
fire
very
or
thorough.
something?
Mostly, the best hope was the parachute, that he didn't have time or
Oh, I
wasn't
see.
able. In their minds, I'm sure they hoped to see the parachute in the tops of the trees and find the body beneath it. Or maybe if he had survived, maybe the parachute got tangled in something.
Yeah.
He wasn't able to hide it, they were hoped for, and at least they'd have a sign of where he landed. But nada. Occasionally, the searchers would spot something that looked like a parachute. But invariably, it turned out to be like a piece of plastic junk or just some kind of colorful trash.
A
So
crop circle.
yeah, they'd see from the air, have somebody go there and go, yeah, that's just a big old plastic,
A tarp.
yeah, seriously, something like that. And,
Yeah.
and oh well, sorry. They're able to clean up a bit of litter though from the area, so that's nice.
Yeah,
That's a
that's
plus.
cute.
For 3 weeks, local, federal, state searchers scoured southwest Washington, and then what happened? Winter set in, and it's the weather turned. It started to snow in places. So basically, authorities had to call off the search. Most of the search efforts were called off after about 3 weeks.
Damn.
Damn.
It's not a very long time to search.
No.
Well, so it is possible, maybe, as Carrie mentioned earlier.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not impossible. He was thinking about that. If you do it in the middle of
Yeah.
summer, they can
Yeah.
search for you for months. But I don't know if that's true. I mean, possibly.
Yeah.
And then maybe the snow cover does hide anything. If you were able to semi-bury
Yeah.
that parachute, the snow makes it harder to find. I don't know.
Rain wash away
Yeah,
some
something like that.
evidence.
But the authorities were not done. They waited until spring, thawed the snow, and they got back at it again. Over 200 Army service personnel from Fort Lewis joined the ground search this time. The Air Force conducted more air searches themselves. National Guard units were called in, and civilians, lots of civilians, pitched in and just looked around for them. They kept it up from March and through much of April in 1972.
Wow.
Even they again searched the water. A marine salvage firm called Electronic Explorations Company. They sent a submarine, their search submarine,
In a river?
200 feet into Lake Merwin.
Oh.
61 meters, by the way. So that's a pretty deep lake, isn't it?
Yeah.
They came up empty.
Oops.
In fact, as we now know, all of these searches they spanned from just after Thanksgiving 1971 until around Easter 1972. It produced no sign whatsoever
Yeah.
of D.B. Cooper, his remains, or anything associated with him.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Then there was a break.
Dun, dun.
March 29th, 1972, right in the middle of that second search, that spring search, 2 women stumbled onto skeletal remains
Oh, you mean skeletal?
in Australia and
Skeletal.
New Zealand, and I guess Britain too.
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
would mean skeletal. In the United States, I mean skeletal.
Why not?
I'm okay either way. I was just trained to say skeletal as a small child. So they found these skeletal remains of a human at the bottom of a grain silo at a place called the Grist Mill near the city of Vancouver, Washington.
Well, okay.
It's in Clark County. That's in Southwest Washington. That's right in the area where he could have jumped. Did D.B. Cooper, maybe he's injured from his nighttime skydive? Did he drag his dying body into the silo to maybe hide out and hopefully heal up and unfortunately die? No, he did not. In fact, not even close. Weirdly, the body was that of a missing girl named Barbara Ann Derby. She had last been seen hitchhiking along Highway 14 just a few miles away. She had been stabbed through the heart.
Jesus.
She was, in fact, one of the multiple victims of a local serial killer.
Oh, well.
Loose at this time. He was later caught not too long after that. So in the search for D.B. Cooper, they came up with the search of the body of a serial killer's victim.
That's not
Wow.
Green River Killer.
No,
That was
no,
later,
he was
wasn't
I've
it?
never heard of him.
Yeah.
He killed 4 or 5 young girls and women in that area.
It was
in-
Serial Killer Central.
PNW, baby.
Honestly, God, from Northern California on up,
SoCal.
that's
Yeah.
where all the serial killers
Yeah.
hang out.
Yeah.
The whole
So,
West Coast, let's be real.
It's the West Coast. Serial killing is kind of a West Coast thing.
It's too expensive to live here, so they just start killing.
Oh,
Is that
hey.
the way it works?
God, rent is so crazy. Stab, stab, stab.
Okay. Is that a meme? That's
No.
weird.
Do you know what I mean? Is
I do, kind of.
Make it a meme and then turn it into an NFT.
Now you're just
fuck
throwing out
is
fake
an
acronyms at this
NFT?
point.
No, we like the environment.
I know.
What's happening?
We're
What's an
not going to
NFT?
get into it.
Okay.
It's
Fungible,
fungi.
non-fungible
Fungi.
tokens.
No mushrooms.
Where have you guys been?
Yeah, you guys are stupid.
On
For
TikTok.
millennials.
It sucks.
I'm not a millennial. I'm a Gen Z.
It's very
Whatever.
crypto bitches. Anyway.
well.
But you know the Charlie bit my finger.
What's happening?
Charlie bit
What
my
is-
finger.
This is
They turned that video into an NFT and now they've deleted it permanently from the internet.
And you know how much it sold for? What,
I
like
don't fucking know.
$700,000?
Oh, fun.
I feel like this podcast has been hijacked
Yeah.
by this weird ass
Yes.
discussion.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Reel
So-
it in.
Months turned into years, and years turned into more years, I guess.
Decades.
Into decades.
Decades,
There you
sure.
go.
The FBI did not close the case officially
Really?
until 2016.
Wow.
Holy
Silliness.
Even
Even
though-
isn't that like an automatic like?
No, it wasn't. We'll talk about that in a minute. But search efforts
That'd be earlier.
after about that April 1972, the search efforts were pretty minimal.
Yeah.
I mean, it was an open
Well.
case for all those years, but like, yeah, if somebody comes and they have something,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
it's actually, it seems legit, we'll look into it, and they did. But D.B. Cooper had, for all intents and purposes, disappeared off the face of the earth, and whether he is dead or alive and $200,000 richer was anyone's guess. But though the physical searches were more or less complete by the spring of 1972, the FBI had another tactic that they felt had a decent chance of catching their criminal. And want to take a guess?
Tracing the money.
Tracing the money.
Money, money, money.
Follow the money,
Yeah.
as they say.
Paper trail.
The FBI sent copies of the serial numbers on all those $20 bills that they had microfilmed. They sent to any place that they thought, a wary hijacker might try to launder a big bag full of cash or just a lot of cash. So they sent those serial numbers to casinos, to racetracks, to banks, any business that dealt in a lot of cash. Today, they would send it to weed businesses, almost certain, for sure.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They sent this info to every law enforcement agency also that they can think of, not just nationwide, worldwide. Because they thought, okay, well, he had the money, he could have left the country. If he's passing this money in the Caribbean or whatever, maybe we can find out.
Yeah.
Northwest Orient Airlines, they offered a reward of up to $25,000 or 15% of the ransom haul. The ransom haul was $200,000, so whichever was less. So 15% would be $30,000. So why they didn't just kick in the extra $5K is very confusing. It's like $25,000 or 15%, but whichever is less. We're not going to give you $30K.
Do they mean 15% of what would be recovered? Because, they know what the ransom was.
The ransom was $200,000. Yeah.
I know.
So, if you recovered
So it's of what?
$10,000, you get 15%.
Okay.
Is what the
So
reward
it's
was.
of what
Yeah.
gets recovered.
Whichever up to max 25K. But again, max 15% of the full 200 was $30,000. So just make it 30,000 Northwest.
So does that mean if somebody gives a tip, they catch DB Cooper and they never recover any money, that person gets nothing?
There were other rewards for him for catching him from this is
Okay.
the airline did this reward.
Okay.
So if you get that money back.
So like from the FBI or
Yeah.
A pizza party.
I wonder if it was because they paid $180,000. Thank
you.
I'm sorry, their insurance company paid $180,000. The airline was out $200,000. They had insurance. They had hijack insurance.
Wow.
So their insurance company
Smart.
did pay them most of it.
Wow.
Whatever
Surprised it was a
employee
thing.
was like, we should get hijacker insurance.
Yeah.
And they're like, shut up, Dale, you're so stupid. He's like, see, I was right.
Next, they should have also gotten volcano insurance.
Oh, you should always get volcano insurance. That's
Always.
Well,
well, in that area, actually,
yeah.
yes. So
Yeah.
I thought you
Couple
meant
years
just more
later.
generally. So the general public was also brought in when U.S. Attorney General John Mitchell, who would later serve time in prison for Watergate because he was a piece of shit.
Harken back to our
They probably all
our
are.
Yes,
episode on Martha Mitchell.
Martha Mitchell, very
The
good.
Mouth
Good
from the
callback,
South.
Kara. Good callback. I like that.
episode.
John Mitchell released those serial numbers to the general public. So before they had sent them to whatever, casinos and banks and things like that. Now they said, everybody, we're going to put them on our website. They didn't say this in 1972, but they released it. They released all the serial numbers. So if you see anything like this, if you see any $20 bill with these numbers, tell us.
It's okay. Realistically, logistically, where would one go to find these serial numbers?
I don't know. Probably, I don't know.
Local library, look on the
But they probably
microfiche.
said,
I
look,
mean-
they're $20 bills. They have the San Francisco bank on it, and they start with L, right? So I'll bet you there are a lot of people looking at any $20 bill with
Yeah.
an L for years.
Yeah.
Looking at it a little closer, and who knows if they're going to look it up somewhere. I don't know where.
Yeah.
But
Huh.
I don't know. Now, he just went.
Post
he
office.
He had a press conference just sort of
Betcha.
rattling off the numbers.
Bulletin board at the post office.
Maybe a bulletin board at the
Yes.
post office. Karen, let's go with that.
Well, that's where they put the most wanted posters. So
Yeah. Thanks. Carrie's like dropping some info, some knowledge.
Why
Post
not?
office.
makes
Guys.
sense.
Post
Jeez,
office
DB
people.
Cooper.
This is old timey info that these young whippersnappers
They don't have
know
those
about.
in post offices anymore. They don't do like most
They,
wanted.
they
Who
probably
goes
do,
to the
but
post
ask
office?
these two
Me.
young people next to you. When's the last time they were inside a post
When was
office?
the last time you
Bitch,
said a post office?
to get my passport photo.
Yeah, but
Last time you had to go to the post
Okay.
office and I was there.
That was a few years ago.
Also, when was the last time you were in a post office?
Carrie asked me when I was last time I was in the
a
post
few
office.
days ago?
Why?
Now ask me. Ask me.
When was the last time you were in a post office?
I have no idea. Many, many years.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
yeah,
inconsistent
so-
reasoning.
Yeah.
Bitch, cut off.
We're all kind of angry at you now.
Jesus
Yeah.
Christ.
But in the 70s,
Don't patronize me because
adults
of my age.
used to go to the post office all the time.
Great.
Okay.
We
Why
don't
are you
have
angry
to.
about it?
No, she
I'm
is. She is
not.
angry. She's legitimately angry right now.
I'm glad that we don't have to waste our time.
Hey,
in
have,
gas.
the hijack's being the podcast is being
The
hijacked again.
hijack's being podcasted,
It is.
guys.
So, because of this, though, this John Mitchell letting it be known widely, the serial numbers of these bills, investigators got another head fake later in 1972. Two men had secured $30,000 from a national news magazine called Newsweek, which still exists but barely, but at the time was a major, very profitable. It was probably the second most popular news magazine to Time magazine.
It was like
at the time.
Time.
It was like Time.
Yeah.
So I'm because I don't know if I legitimately don't know if it still exists. I think it might.
I think it does.
I think it does too.
So he showed these two men showed the Newsweek reporter a few $20 bills with serial numbers that matched the serial numbers that John Mitchell had released. They were part of the Cooper loot. They further said, so we got this from D.B. Cooper. We know him. He's our friend. We will grant you an exclusive interview with D.B. Cooper. You can't tell us that, he'll hide his identity, whatever. And for $30,000, we'll give Newsweek an exclusive interview with the D.B. Cooper. Here's the money to prove that we know him. So huge scoop for Newsweek, right? Just a huge scoop. Biggest scoop of the year for sure.
Yeah.
Except the bills were
Fake.
counterfeit.
Yeah.
Boop.
Of course.
It's a scam to get $30,000.
It worked.
Oh Lord.
The two men,
say, oh,
it's
no.
amazing. The two men disappeared with $30,000,
Yeah.
$5,000 more than reward offered by Northwest,
Yeah.
and
Work.
they didn't have to jump out of a plane. So not a bad little. That Newsweek report, I hope was fire. But can you imagine? Like, oh,
Yeah.
sorry about that, guys.
I like them.
Yeah.
That's smart.
Hey, what happened, journalists? You don't pay for interviews.
Oh, really? Because they do all the time.
You're not supposed to.
Some local newspapers in Portland, in that area, offered rewards for Cooper Cash, but none was ever found. That is until 1980, through the work of a little boy.
Oh, I know this.
February 10th, 1980. Only a little over 3 months now before Mount St. Helens is going to erupt and wreck the place. Which, by the way, some now think did indeed bury any kind of remnant evidence of D.B. Cooper, the Mount St. Helens eruption. But about just a few months before that, Brian Ingram, he remembers that day like he was 8 years old because he was 8 years old at the time. He was vacationing with his family along the Columbia River. They were camping on a beachfront spot called Tina Bar. It's spelled T-E-N-A on the map. Some people spell it Tina like the name, which is weird. A lot of Tinas are at bars, though, aren't they? I just feel like that's a bar name.
Tina?
Tina, yeah.
Or
I wouldn't
airplane.
know.
Yeah. Tina Bar was about 9 miles to the north, that is downriver from Vancouver, Washington. So this is north of Portland. Brian was raking the sand because he's going to help his family build a campfire that night because they're going to roast marshmallows and have s'mores, I assume.
That's so fun.
It is fun. Yum, yum. But as he scraped the sand away to create kind of a hollow there for the fire to put the logs, Brian uncovered 3 packets filled with something. He could feel something in these paper packets. He opened one of the packets and saw
Money.
cash.
Cold, hard.
Lots of it.
I would enjoy that.
Old
That would be
and
so
beaten and soggy, but each held a thick wad of $20 bills.
Dollar bills, y'all.
The packets were buried shallow, kind of shallow beneath the sand, and they were held together by rubber bands. There were 100 $20 bills in 2 of the packets, and there were 90 of the 100 that should have been in the third. The FBI came right away. They checked the serial numbers against those they had given D.B. Cooper 8.5 years ago, and they matched. And they were also, by the way, in the exact order of how the bills were sorted. So they knew for sure this was part of the Cooper loop.
Yeah.
Brian Ingram had finally found actual tangible evidence of D.B. Cooper.
I would have said, you better give me not these bills, but the equivalent.
Yeah, they were bad. They were beaten up. They were holy. They were nasty. The first question the FBI asked was, had the money been purposely buried at Tina Bar, or had it found its way there through some other means? The weathering of the bills, they were kind of rounded. Their edges and they're holy, as I mentioned, they were beaten up and they had holes in them. This situation, or they were kind of corroded. It told authorities that they had been washed down the Columbia River.
I was
going to
ask.
They're
yeah.
fairly certain they
Were
had
they
been in the
close
water.
enough? Yeah.
So they've been washed down the Columbia River. they landed in this sort of sandbar at Tina Bar along the Columbia River, and then they were buried naturally. Sand was sediment, I guess, over them until Brian came along with his plastic rake. This was very telling, by the way. So first, a little digression. There may be a good reason that the law never found E.B. Cooper or his remains back in 1971 until Brian Ingram found some evidence in 1980, because they were looking in the wrong place. Captain Scott had been flying the plane manually. That's because they were flying at 10,000 feet and they had all the landing gear down at Sedley. So he had to fly the plane manually. He couldn't put it on autopilot, right? And also to keep that speed and altitude. He would later come to believe that he had flown further east of Vector 23 than he had first calculated. A Continental Airlines pilot named Tom Bohan would also agree. And he said Tom Bohan had been flying the jet that took off and followed Flight 305 4 minutes. He was just 4 minutes behind D.B. Cooper's jet when it was going from Seattle to Reno on the second flight, which is weird to me. I would think they'd close that airport the rest of the night.
Yeah.
Certainly not 4 minutes. You know what? Business as usual. We got to get people to where they're going. So he had flown faster and higher than the Cooper plane, but he had gone along a similar route. And he said, look, the wind was whipping up there and it was changing directions. And he felt that they had miscalculated the speed and direction of the wind. And so they had miscalculated exactly where he had probably jumped and where it would have been at 8:13 p.m. He estimated that it was over the Washougal River, which is east of Portland. So it's upriver from where the landing zone was. The Washougal River feeds into the Columbia River at the town of Camas. Looked it up, 27 miles east of Tina Bar. That is upriver from where the Washougal fed to Columbia. So does that make sense? So
Yeah.
if in the Washougal, that water could have gone in the Washougal and flown down, could have drifted by the river to Tina Bar, 27 miles down river. The money could absolutely have reached the location of where Brian found it if D.B. Cooper had lost it over the Washougal River. The Lewis River, conversely, is north of Columbia. North of the Tina Bar area.
Yeah.
The Columbia, it goes kind of east-west for a long time, but then at Portland or so, it veers sharply northward. So it goes northward for a long time. And that's where you find the Lewis River feeds into it. So where the Lewis River, if anything had fallen into the Lewis River where they searched and gone into the Columbia, it'd be already well past Tina Bar. So it's impossible for that money to have got there if he had landed or if it had been lost somehow over where their main search area was. So that makes sense? Because I think it's pretty critical. It's just if we trust that money with D.B. Cooper's, and we know it was, he could not have jumped where they thought he jumped. People also ask how the packets have stayed together and be buried with one another. That seemed weird to a lot of people. People wondered what happened to those 10 bills in the third packet.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Maybe that's not how they got there.
Well, hold on. They also wondered why the rubber band hadn't completely disintegrated by then, if it had been buried all those 9 years. So these factors indicated to somebody that the loot had been buried at Tina Bar later than 1971 when he went onto the ground. In fact, in 1974, there had been extensive dredging operations in that Tina Bar area. So, and somebody did some analysis with the layers, and they showed pretty conclusively that it would have had to have been deposited there after 1974. So it's like, oh, okay, so someone buried it there intentionally later on.
Yeah.
But why would Cooper bury part of his loot in this place? It was a vacation spot.
Yeah.
It wasn't in the middle of nowhere. Why would he do that?
Could be something even weirder than that. Maybe he didn't. Maybe somebody else found it someplace else.
Same question, though. So somebody finds a little bit of loot and they buried it at Tina Bar?
I don't know. Yeah. I don't
Some people even surmised, some people thought it was animals. Like the raccoon was like burying its nest egg or something like that.
Stupid.
There have been lots of things like that. They all have the same problem. There's no motivation. It makes no sense to bury a little bit of the loot.
Well,
in
person,
this place.
like if somebody found, that's all they found,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
But
they,
then why bury it? Why would you ever bury it?
because they knew they couldn't use it.
Why not?
Well,
Or turn it in and get a
Because people-
reward.
yeah,
Why would you
that's
bury
true.
it? That makes no sense.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't. I think the burying thing makes no sense. Here's the most likely answer: is that the money did find its way downriver, but it was dislodged. So, in other words, if it's upriver in the Washougal, and it's there in branches or whatever it would just have to be there for 3 years, and then it gets dislodged sometime after 1974, after those dredging operations, and then it makes its way down the river and is buried. So it could have been buried right after in 1975 or 6 or whatever.
Sure.
So anyway, that's my best guess on how that money made its way to Tina Bar. But it doesn't tell us that much more. By the way, many private enthusiasts have searched all over the Washougal River, thinking, okay, now let's look at the second place. No one's found anything.
Yeah.
Then again, it hasn't been nearly the extensive search as it was. So side note, yes, Jack, Brian and his family eventually did get half the money they found.
Wow.
No, I'd say
6
more
years
with interest.
6 years later. 6 years later,
Oh,
they got
God.
half. The other
Fuck the
half
police.
went to the insurance company that paid out most of the
Yeah.
ransom.
No.
Oh
Yeah,
my
that's-
God,
that's-
that's some bullshit.
That's evil. That does seem like bullshit. Brian Ingram, though, had the last laugh. In 2008, he took 15 of those bills that he was given back, but apparently they gave him back the actual money.
Oh, wow.
Half of the money, and he kept that money.
That was nice.
So he took 15 of those weathered bills, and he sold them
Yeah.
auctioned them off for $37,000. So good for you, Brian.
Christ.
He should have held out. He could have gotten a lot more than that, I'll bet you.
The excitement from the discovery of the money on Tina Bar quickly faded, though, and soon the FBI went back to pretending they were still investigating the case, right?
Yeah.
In 2007, the FBI announced that they had been able to develop a partial DNA profile from the tie clip,
Oh.
oddly enough. They couldn't be sure, though, that it really was Cooper's DNA. Who knows? It had been handled for decades by that time.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
The cigarette butts would have been so much better for DNA, but, oh, that's right. The FBI lost them.
Yeah.
Let's not make them feel any worse than
Maybe
they
they'll
do.
find them.
The
What?
cigarette butts?
Yeah.
I suppose that's possible.
They
There's
could
some
be.
box somewhere. Yeah.
They're in boxes of evidence.
Yeah. Federal
So,
too,
yeah.
FBI. I mean, God, there's warehouses of
Yeah.
evidence. So sure, they could have just got misplaced. So,
Yeah, maybe they're in Warehouse 13.
oh, I had not about that, but yes. In 2016, the FBI finally stopped pretending to still be investigating the case officially. On July 13th, the head of the Seattle FBI office, quote, redirected resources from the case that they called Norjack. Its code name had always been Norjack, the Norjack case. The agency
Clever.
said, quote, because every time the FBI assesses additional tips for the Norjack case, investigative resources and manpower are diverted from programs that more urgently need attention. In other words, leave us the fuck alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're done with DB Cooper. He'd be 90. So, still, to this day, hundreds of web sleuths and DB Cooper enthusiasts continue to hunt for a man who lived at least well into his 80s,
Yeah.
Yeah.
if not 90 years old. The legend lives on. There has been movies, The Pursuit of DB Cooper in 1981 with the inimitable Treat Williams,
Oh.
Don't know who that is.
acting delight. Without a Paddle was made in 2004, where some friends went to go find a DB Cooper's. They go into the wilderness to find DB Cooper's loot,
Oh.
thinking they can find the treasure, and they actually find his body. Spoiler alert, by the way. Sorry about that.
I thought that was like just some stupid slapstick comedy movie.
It doesn't sound like that. It sounds
Yeah.
like it's John Candy and Joe Flaherty in Without a Paddle.
Isn't it Dak Shepard and Seth Green?
I have absolutely no
Yeah.
idea.
Yes,
Really?
it is.
Yeah.
Sean Williams Scott.
Really?
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe?
That's
maybe it is.
hilarious.
I had no idea that's what it was about.
I hope we're talking about the same movie, 2004.
We are.
Okay.
Yeah.
It is, yes.
Yeah.
Ariel, Washington is in the heart of the search zone that the authorities originally thought Cooper jumped. That is the Lewis River area, not where he probably did in Washougal, whatever it is. The Ariel General Store and Tavern has a Cooper Mania archive, and the town holds a DB Cooper festival every year.
Holy moly.
Yeah. Go for the lookalike contest. They have a DB Cooper lookalike contest.
Everybody,
Everybody?
just like so many, half the town enters because this guy.
Probably. Well, go for that, but stay for the apple pie shaped like DB Cooper's face? Question mark? Maybe not. So we're going to put that on our list, by the way, after we go to Wheeling, West Virginia to find Mothman, and then we go to Montauk to find underground tunnels where little kids were tortured into astral projection. We'll go to Washington and do DB Cooper Mania.
Sure.
Next week, when we bring the final episode 3 of the DB Cooper mystery, we're going to tell you who did it. Actually, we're not because we don't know, but we will examine the best suspects and let you decide. Sound good?
It was Ted Cruz.
Probably was. Carrie,
What?
tell them things.
Thank you. Weird World Podcast at gmail.com and on Facebook and Instagram and Patreon and Weird World Pod on Twitter.
All right, until then, see you.
See you next week.
Bye.
Toots.